Hello and welcome to the Merle and Locke podcast. I'm Merle.
And I'm Locke.
Set sail and low expectations for everything nerd, accompanied by a healthy, albeit shameful, helping to point and spend your lack of focus and quest to acquire knowledge.
And more.
And more. So we're going to do some story time here, Locke.
Story time. Yay.
A little story time before I state the topic here.
Ladies and gents, pull up your chairs, sit by the campfire, and listen to Merle's stories.
So it was a couple nights ago, and I got on with a couple buddies. They're already in the middle of a game, and they're like, oh, well, let us finish up and we'll play a game with you. So I was like, okay. They were suggesting we play a particular game. Check to see if it was downloaded. I was like, oh, okay, I still have it downloaded. It's a game I haven't played in a while, but yeah, I'd be down to play it. They were telling me how they just started getting into it, and they were telling me some personal stories, some personal experiences with that game. As they were telling me the story, like this crazy story, it was a series of unfortunate events, so it was pretty funny. It was pretty humorous, and the mistakes they had made. While they were telling it to me, I was sitting there listening intently, and my stomach dropped. I was like, ooh, well, I mean, I must have had something bad. Don't know what that is, but, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to just leave in the middle of the story. I want to hear them out first, and then I'll go to the restroom afterwards. And so I sat there continuing to listen, and then, had a little burp in the belly, I guess you could say. And I was like, oh, God, this is bad. I told my buddy, I was like, wait, I'll be right back. I got to go take care of something. I run to the bathroom, and before I even get in there, things start happening. My age starts to show a little bit, and my sphincter control isn't what it used to be. I pull one of those moves where I'm pretty much flying through the air, ass first, into the toilet. It's an absolute geyser coming out of me.
This is a perfect picture for everybody.
It goes everywhere. It gets all over the back wall, all over the toilet, gets on my shorts. It's everywhere. It's an absolute horror scene. I'm sitting there, finished my business. I'm all flustered. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like, I'm not sick. What is going on? But as I sat there, I dwelled on it for a moment, and I was like, I can't even be mad. Isn't it wonderful, the human condition? Look how far you've come, I said to myself as I'm sitting there in my own shit. And I'm trying not to gag on the smell and what I see around me. So yeah, I finished my business, get everything together. I have nothing to be embarrassed about. It happens to people, surely.
Nobody tell him. Nobody tell him.
I was sitting there. It was like I got two choices. I could either grab a bottle of Clorox, clean all this up, or I could fucking burn the house down. I could do that just as well.
I'd opt for the second option. Yeah.
So I opted for the former. I got the Clorox and I cleaned everything up. It took forever, got a shower. Everything was done good. And I went back to the PC, sat down to talk with my buddies. And they're like, oh, where you been? I was like, well, just had a very humbling experience. And I told them all about it.
As one does.
As one does. You could tell these things to the boys. No one's going to judge you.
We'll laugh it off and move on. I might bring it up in a future reference to something, but just to make sure you stay humble. That's...
Right. So the topic for today is the human condition.
I hope you called a priest after that experience.
I should have done.
I think what you needed was a little bit of the Holy Spirit. Do a little bit of cleansing to...
Exercising them demons, bud.
That's
what it was. Something my body totally rejected, and I'm not entirely certain what it was, but it'll do it every now and again. It'll surprise you. You got to be on it, Anyway, yes, the topic for today is the human condition. So I wanted to get into, the experience of being a human.
This can get very deep very quick.
It can do. That's why I had like a lighthearted story to start, just to get everybody in a good mood beforehand. But so it's something that I often dwell on. Some people do, some people don't. To each their own, of course. Some people wait until they're in their elderly age where they kind of look back fondly on even the bad experiences and the things that shaped who they've become, and trying to find an appreciation for all of it. It's oftentimes difficult, but like I said, it's what makes us who we are. People I've talked to about leading a certain lifestyle or having particular ambitions or kind of staples as they reach adulthood, things that they should have that maybe they don't or they're working towards. I've hit a lot of those staples, but they didn't last forever. Although I may not have it anymore, I don't have any desire to have it again because I've already had it. So I don't feel a need necessarily. And, I look back fondly on things like that. Definitely the positive. Try not to spend too much time on the negative. I try to not ignore that it happened, but just appreciate who it's made me. There's a lot of defining moments in my life, more so negative than positive. Well, I dwell more on the negative, unfortunately, like most people do, laying in bed at night, thinking back and trying to distract yourself maybe with a phone or a good book. And so you could just get too tired to think about things and fall asleep. Many of us are in that same boat. I have those moments in the shower where you're sitting there be like, oh, I wish I would have handled this situation this way rather than the way I had done. But those experiences are what make you who you are. So you have to just have an appreciation of that fact. Do you have any stories or anything that contributed to who you've become or things that you've striven for that you've achieved or that you're still trying to? Any ambitions or anything of the like?
I frequently think back to how things were when I was a kid, especially the kid who had moved into an area completely unfamiliar with it, young, growing up, learning what goes on through most people's heads, because you want to believe as a kid that everybody has the best intentions, but that's part of the learning experience is what I've seen, and I kind of wanted it. I wanted to learn why is it that people have these intentions where they want to do somebody wrong? What is it that goes through their head? What do they think about? And it's usually that they don't think about anybody else. From what I've gathered is they're too busy caught up in their own selfish reasons. Whether they want to admit it or not, it's that other voice, the voice that we shouldn't be listening to, but it often is louder than the voice that tells us we should take the high road and be a better person. And that's what I wanted to do until I experienced my first bully. I also had the experience that was given to me, the having older sibling who, whether or not he tried it, I feel he did try to be the good older brother who would try to help steer me in a way. I see it as a lesson now. Before I used to think that he didn't care at all. And I think in his own way, he did. It's just the things you don't see when you're younger. And as you get older, you get to really reflect back on it.
But do you think that growing up with this adversity has made you like a better person in future as an adult? Do you see yourself as being on guard more or less naive, more empathetic and trying to understand what the point is that the person's trying to get across or what they're trying to achieve?
All these things led me to trying to understand people and to try to help them in some way. Now, the hardest part is getting through to some people. I understand you can't help everyone, no matter how much you want to try. In the end, they have to make that decision for themselves.
Yeah, so I guess it broadened your horizons to everyone else's struggles and knowing that not all people are the same. We all have our own agendas, our own troubles, our own quote-unquote love languages.
We all have our special gifts and what we can do for one another, and some of us can help other people reflect. It's just how you choose to use that gift. If you choose it in more of a negative light, like telling people, you always do this weird thing with your eye every time you tell a lie or something. It's like, I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to explain it, but I feel, you have to understand the gift that you were given and how to implement it better.
That's interesting, the way you think of all those negative experiences gave you this particular insight, and you were considering it a gift rather than a detriment to your mental well-being. And that's a positive outlook, and I appreciate that.
And I feel a lot of people do see these things as negative outlooks. That's once again where we come up with all these illnesses, is that people don't want to see these things as gifts. They're afraid. It makes you seem different, look different, act different. I see it as we all have our individual gifts that set us apart from one another.
Yeah, we all have our own wisdom that we've gained through these life experiences. And we all have that wisdom to share if people will keep an open ear.
There's a thing that I keep thinking about, and it's lately that I've keep having this experience. It's the words, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." And I think about that often. How many people do these things and they don't realize it?
Yeah, I guess from pressures of whatever it may be, societal pressures or familial pressures, or just in their own little communities, whatever kind of community it might be. And people are, I don't want to say brainwashed, but encouraged to see things in a certain light. It's just something that we just have to consider on the other side. We don't have that insight into that particular influence. It's difficult, to say the least, to try and find common ground with others and try to understand the points that they're making or the conclusions that they're coming to. But if we all are able to humble ourselves before one another, I feel like that we can better find understanding, because we're all subjected to our own conditioning. And I guess just to find peace, it's a difficult thing to find peace and happiness within yourself unless you are to completely isolate yourself maybe from others, or to figure out how to exist within by hiding yourself, who you are, or your thoughts, just to be in line with the people that surround you so that you don't cause any kind of friction.
I'm not saying that it's absolutely good to isolate yourself, but there is a point in time where I feel you should step away from the ideologies that everybody on the internet, the people on social media tell me. Well, what does your heart tell you? What do you believe in? And if you don't believe in anything, ask maybe you reconsider.
Well, I mean, I guess it's fairly well exhaustion from opinions.
I get it. I live through life too, right?
Yeah. When it comes to discussing anything, everybody feels like everybody else needs to have an opinion on everything. And if you don't have the energy to form an opinion around all these things, trying to dissect them and get different points of view, you often opt for just some general popular opinion and adopt it. I feel like that's the case with most people, because I battle with that all the time, where people ask my opinion on something. I'm like, I don't really have one because I don't know enough. And they're like, oh, well, and they become all patronizing and give me crap about it because, this particular thing is very important. You need to have an opinion. I'm like, I don't. That's the end of it. Like, I can't participate in this conversation because I don't have a proper opinion. I haven't formulated my own opinion based on what I've gathered because I haven't invested the energy into gathering those evidences.
Certain topics, when people ask about an opinion and they feel you should feel some sort of way about it, and it's like, is this topic really worth the energy? Why are we making this out to be more important than it really is? In the grand scheme of things, is this really that important? Is worrying about the Jenners or Kanye West really important?
Yeah.
I'm not concerned about celebrities. They're trying to live their life too, and some of them I see as lost spirits, and I feel sorry for a lot of them.
As with most things, we live in a society, and trying to participate in it is often difficult. But it's a difficult thing to escape, especially if you want to remain connected with more and more people, which, I mean, we love connections or achieving those connections, and it's very fulfilling. But in order to do so, you need to not necessarily give up the part of yourself that just wants to live in peace, but you have to learn to adapt and try to find a way to function within. That's a part of the current human condition is the stresses that society puts on you.
That does seem to be the current human condition, doesn't it?
My retirement plan is to be that creepy old man that lives in the mountains that nobody wants to have anything to do with and warns their children about, like, don't go up in them there hills. Oh, old man Merle's up there.
There's some Sam Squinches up there.
If you enjoy the Merle and Locke podcast, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/Merle and Locke or simply follow the link in the description. Thank you.